Hey guys, so I am finally getting around to making my birth story video. Little man is eating right now, so you might hear some little coos. He is 2 months old, and I definitely meant to make this earlier, but we all know what postpartum is like. It's very busy and it's very slow and it's very fast. So I'm just getting around to it now. I was scheduled to be induced on November 14th, which is my toddler's birthday. And my doctor was really stringent on this because of my advanced maternal age. I would be 39 weeks, and my age is 41. So he was very stringent, like I said. He wanted me to be induced. He did not want me to go over 39 weeks, and I definitely wanted my body to just go into spontaneous labor. That did not happen. I had so much prodromal labor and painful contractions, but they didn't consistently get more severe. It was probably the most frustrating thing, up there with like the most frustrating thing I've ever been through. I mean, this was months, weeks, not months, weeks of prodromal labor. Consistent, like timeable contractions, but nothing ever came of them. So, and I even went into the hospital 2 days before I got induced because my contractions were so painful, but they kind of just stayed at like a pain level 5 and did not consistently get stronger and did not cause cervical change. So my cervix was not dilating. So I was induced on my toddler's birthday, which was kind of bittersweet. And since it was my second, are you hungry or not? He's just laughing at me. He's just smiling. Since it was my second, I thought that he was going to come pretty quickly, and I thought that my kids were going to have the same birthday. They do not. This one was born a day later at 1:45 a.m. So I was scheduled to go into the hospital here, which is really close to us, probably about a 3-minute drive, at 9 a.m. on November 14th. So I get there, I get checked in, and they take me to my room. And they give me a gown and everything, and I made sure that we had all of our snacks and drinks and everything that we could possibly need, which was very minimal. Honestly, the hospital provides everything for you, so I just brought like clothes to go home in, and that was about it. Eat. Anyway, so at around 9, they gave me a pill to soften my cervix. It was a little tiny pill. I forget if it's Cervidil or Cytotec. Anyway, I took the pill, and I was already contracting before I even got to the hospital. They just weren't strong, but I could see them on the monitor once I got hooked up, once I got there, and the nurses were like, yeah, you're contracting regularly. So once I took that pill, the contractions got a lot stronger, which was nice. And this pill is supposed to ripen your cervix, and the contractions help with opening your cervix. So everything was happening, everything was going in the right direction. About 6 hours later, they came in and checked me. I was at like a 4 or 5, so I was definitely progressing. So that was good. Um, and they kind of just let me progress for as long as I wanted. I really didn't want Pitocin. Um, but once I realized, like, I'm being induced anyways, my body's just not doing what it needs to do, because my body, honestly, like, the way I look at induction is it's a medical intervention. Um, it's not natural. You're given all these medications to get the baby out of you, because in some cases the baby is safer out of you rather than in. Um, I don't I don't necessarily think that that was the case for me. But my doctor just made it a big deal that I was older. I did have gestational, like, elevated blood glucose levels, but I was controlling it with diet. I didn't have to get on any medication or anything. Um, but other than that, I really think now in hindsight, which is usually 2020, that I could have just waited. So a few hours later, my contractions started getting really, really strong, because I did opt for the Pitocin at around like 9 p.m. So I had already been there for 12 hours. I was over it. Um, and so I got the Pitocin, and they started me off pretty low. And this is like standard induction stuff. This happened with my first as well. Because I was also advanced maternal age. I was like 39 when I had him. So Pitocin, and then I knew that shortly after Pitocin, I would be getting an epidural. I just knew that that's what I wanted. My mom was there, my sister was there, and my husband. And up until the epidural, everything was pretty chill. I mean, I just dealt with the contractions, and finally they just got so painful that I was at a 6, and I was like, hey, I'm ready for the epidural. My main thing, the reason that I wait on the epidural, is because it is so annoying not being able to get out of bed for me. On my first one, it was like hours and hours of just sitting there, and I'm like, this is not the business. So I tried to wait as long as I could. Finally, I opted for the epidural, and the anesthesiologist came in, and he was very kind. But unfortunately, he dosed me way too high with this epidural. And as soon as it went in, as soon as the medication went into the catheter, my heart rate dropped, my blood pressure dropped, and I had to be laid down on my side. And he had to finish it while I was laying down. It took way longer than the first one, and it scared the living shit out of me. Because I felt my heart rate drop, and I felt my blood pressure drop. So it was pretty scary. I felt like I was going to faint, but luckily they laid me down, and that helped. I've never fainted before, but people have told me, like, your hearing goes out and you hear that like loud pitched like that. That's what happened. And then my vision started getting kind of tunnel vision. It was really scary. That did not happen with my first. I definitely don't want to scare everyone. That is not a normal reaction. And they try to test you before putting in the medication to see how you react. And the test medicine was like fine. And then once I got the actual epidural medication is when that happened. And that scared me so much. And my hospital, they have your family step out while they do the epidural. Luckily, the nurse that I had was amazing. She was just amazing. And she really helped comfort me. Um, and it is what it is, you know? I mean, that's why it's called practicing medicine. And that is why we are called the patients. So, um, but it did work. The epidural, you know, did its job. It was equal on both sides. There was no hot spots or anything. So, it was very, very strong though. I mean, I could not feel anything. Oh yeah. And, I just kind of tried to relax after that. I had a lot of anxiety after that, but my family came back in and my husband was trying to help me calm down. And I did. Um, and I would say like 2 hours, if that, 2 hours later. So it was probably about 11 now. I was at a 9, and then at around like 1 a.m. I was fully dilated and ready to push. And the doctor came in and everyone got ready. And I was fully dilated, started to push, and his heart rate started dropping every contraction. So this was just another thing that was giving me anxiety. I will say, like, I definitely had more anxiety this time than with my first. Um, definitely more anxiety. My first, he fared perfectly well with the contractions. His heart rate stayed very level the whole time. The whole time I was pushing. This one, every contraction I got and every time I had to push, his heart rate would plummet. So there came a point where, and I had only been pushing for about 5 minutes. There came a point where the doctor was like, hey, if we don't get this baby out, we're going to have to use the vacuum. And she told me all of the things that come along with using the vacuum. And it scared the crap out of me and gave me anxiety. And I was like, no, we are not using the vacuum. I literally closed my eyes and prayed that I just gave everything in my power at that point to push him out on the next contraction. And I did. And I didn't even care about tearing or anything like that. I definitely tore. I got a 2nd degree, which obviously you don't feel because you have an epidural, if you have an epidural. But I had to get the baby out because, like, I could see on the monitor his heart rate was dropping. It was freaking me out. The vacuum freaked me out. But my doctor she was really amazing. My actual OB, he did not deliver. The laborist at the time in the hospital delivered. So, she was just amazing. What's up, boo boo? He's talking so much. We're trying to. So yeah, when she told me about the vacuum, on the next contraction, he was out. I just pushed with everything I had and he came out. And oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Meconium. So my water broke when I was around, I would say like 8 centimeters. My water broke. And it was tinged brown and green. And I was like, oh no. Like, this automatically means C-section, right? And they were like, no, not at all. We just have to have the respiratory therapist there when he's born. Just another thing. And none of this happened with my first. He was so easy compared. Although I pushed longer with him, with my first, obviously. But this one was definitely more, there was more things going on. So, as soon as he came out, he started screaming. And I was like so relieved because that's a really good sign. If they, meconium is basically when the baby has a bowel movement inside your uterus before he or she is born. And if they aspirate that, if they breathe it, it's really dangerous for the respiratory system, because it is still pretty undeveloped when they're first born. So luckily, he started screaming a really strong cry, like right when he came out, and it was just wonderful to hear. And he was all pink when he came out, after he took a few breaths, and it was just wonderful. And the respiratory therapist, she happened to be Serbian. My husband is Serbian, and they were speaking in Serbian, and it was a wonderful time after he came out, and we established that he was healthy. So that is, oh, okay. Okay, he's latched. That's pretty much it. He definitely, they didn't have to take him to the NICU or anything for the meconium. They just laid him on my chest. And he latched right away. He got a bunch of colostrum right away, so that was awesome. I was exhausted. It was 1:45 a.m. The time that he was born, and we just went to the recovery room, and I stayed there for 2 days, and it was just amazing. It was a great experience. I love the hospital that I deliver at. I don't think that I will be having any more children. 2 is enough. I've got 2 boys, and I couldn't be happier, honestly, with the whole experience. It was definitely anxiety ridden this time, but looking back, it was just wonderful. I had a wonderful laborist and wonderful nurses, and I was really happy that my family got to be there. My mom, my sister, and my husband. I don't share a lot of personal information, really, but I suppose my birth vlog is pretty personal. My mother is fighting stage 4 breast cancer, and it was just really special to have her there, because I'm pretty sure that I won't be having any more kids. And because my first son was born during COVID, she was not allowed to be there. I could only have one other person, which was my husband. So that is my birth story. I don't think I'm leaving anything out. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you guys really found this interesting and informative. And please subscribe and like if you have not. Bye.